Slowly he turns just as his wife walks up to him with a step too lively for comfort, a smile too sweet to be honest. She's very likely heard everything her husband and I have talked about.
Going off somewhere.
I've got the few things I want them to transfer already. Marianne made this splendid arrangement for the music room and... Love, are you listening?
I thought you already left, Buttercup.
She musters a frown, a pout more like. The mischievous gleam in her eyes when she glances at me says all there is I need to know. I would have laughed at her antics if it wouldn't offend the other man. But as it is, it's better to let his wife have her fun without any reaction from me. I'm treading on dangerous grounds with him already.
Well, I most certainly have not left yet. I wouldn't be standing here if I did, would I?
Of course you wouldn't be, darling. But don't you need to be somewhere else today? Something with Marianne? Shopping, girl, things?
Oh, God.
Oh, I'll be leaving in a few. Unless you want to join us.
Oh, no, thanks, darling. I'm afraid my liver is killing me today.
I thought as much. You needn't have to worry. I'll be gone in a few. It's just that I heard we have a visitor. What kind of person would I be if I didn't greet him before leaving?
A very gracious one, I'm sure.
Zachary, right? Zach? It's a pleasure to see you again.
No, likewise, ma'am.
Likewise, ma'am. I was actually looking for you.
Is that so? What for?
I like how, about 5 times now I've guessed what the character was going to say. It's awesome.
A huge display of unprofessionalism is what it's for.
Shush, darling. Let the man speak. I'm sure it isn't anything like that if he has to come all the way here, yes?
It's about yesterday. The photos you asked, I mean. The copies are ready, but...
My hand stills as I'm about to fish the prints out of my pocket. A short second passes, that which strikes me how I didn't think this through at all. How I'll go about telling her regarding the strange photos, or revealing this to her in the presence of another person. Her husband gazing over us like a hawk doesn't provide any sort of comfort either. And just like that, all the words I've been practicing to say on the way here inevitably fall stiffly off my mouth. Miss Wright must have noticed my hesitance, because surely she gives her husband's arm a gentle squeeze, a tender smile gracing her face. Unlike the first, this one's meant to appease.
Love, I think Hansi might need some of your input for the final guest list. Could you check on him, please?
Oh, clever.
Bollocks! Why in all Luxbourne do I have to be there? Doing tedious jobs are what he's being paid for.
Because if we end up with people whose faces you do not want to show up in our housewarming party, we won't be hearing the end of it. Unless a heavy dose of liquor's involved. You know what the doctor said about that. Please do poor Hansi and your liver a favor,
He can handle that on his own, Buttercup. And my liver is doing just fine.
I'm sure it is. But I don't know, love. I think I caught a glimpse of the name Mitch Lakes, was it? I think it was Mitch Lakes on it when I checked with Hansi earlier. You should see for yourself. It was quite a list.
Guessing he doesn't really like Mitch Lakes.
Who put that blighted twat in there?
Yep.
And that's why I'm asking you to look over it before I do so tonight.
Very well.
But even with that promise, he doesn't appear ready to leave. Short of passing through their doors, he stops and glances back at me, all without bothering to hide the distrust in his eyes.
Luke, dear, I'll be fine. Go back to your butler. I'm not some pregnant wife you have to worry about.
Fine. I have to go to that little ankle biter's career day later anyway. I don't see why I have to go there. Kylie's your goddaughter.
And yet she has you around her little fingers, darling. That's basically the same thing.
If he ever has an answer to that, we don't get to hear it above the heavy thud the door makes, and Ms. Wright's own wary exhale, after she's sure her husband's out of earshot. She's nothing but apologetic when she fixes her gaze back to me, and I can't help but return the same to her.
I am so sorry you had to deal with that. My husband can be a bit trying when he really applied himself.
Oh, you've got no idea, man.
It's fine, Miss Wright. No harm done. It was my fault for showing up here unannounced.
Actually, I can't say you have no idea. You're married to him.
And this might be strange coming from me, but he does have the right to be wary. The press can be quite vicious when it wants to be.
Caught unexpectedly, they'll pick you apart. Except I work for an interior magazine, so you shouldn't really have to worry. It's not surprising why he acted the way he did around me.
Sweetie, if Luke treats every journalist who shows up here like that, I'm afraid we'll end up with a harassment lawsuit hanging over our heads sometime in the future.
You're too nice, Hannah.
Vicious or not, some sort of finesse has to be exercised when dealing with them. I'm sorry, I hope that wasn't too offensive.
Not at all, Miss Wright. Besides, I don't think an interior design magazine would be interested in who harassed who this week. Unless it has something to do with fighting over tastefully arranged furniture.
Exactly.
But even then, I don't think our readers will be too interested.
Oh, dearie. You've got a lot to learn. You really have no idea how a single tassel can ignite a spark in a crowd. Of course, at the end of the day, it's still the thought that counts. It's still a lovely anniversary gift from my husband. No matter. Let's just go.
She doesn't wait for an answer, and immediately wanders over a car parked some distance from us. Unsure, I find myself trailing after her. A chauffeur automatically opens the passenger side door as she nears, and she gestures for me to follow when she climbs into the back seat.
To... where are we going exactly?
What about my bike?
I need to get out of this stuffy house for a while. Moving in, planning the party. It's starting to get suffocating in there. Luke and Hansi can have their fun while I'm gone. I don't care. I'm getting out because I can. Another minute in there and I'll drown.
My bike.
No, you see, my bike. Yeah, of course, a lot of things questionable about her invitation. Why she's asking a person she's only known for less than 2 days in the first place is one. How appropriate this is, being another. But the rest of it crashes the moment she shoots me an imploring look.
Please? I can have someone send it back to your address later. And it's just a trip to the city for some furniture, nothing more, I assure you. Marianne will be with us, and maybe you can tell me why you're here on the way.
Guess it wouldn't hurt. I might have to leave early, though.
Excellent, then. Hop in. That's what they often say, yes?
This can't be a good idea, but I don't really have a choice, do I? Especially with the way her eyes light up when I agreed to it. In my pocket, the very picture of her remains faceless. A voiceless shadow hanging threateningly between us, unknown to her. If someone told me I'd be spending my entire morning being dragged around half of downtown Luxbourne looking for furniture, I probably would have simply smiled at them. Hang on, let's check the journal. What's up? Disturbed, Zachary decided to show the photographs to Hannah herself. He was greeted by a wary Luke Wright upon arriving at the mansion. Just in time, Hannah appeared to save Zachary from further interrogation. At her request, Zach accompanied her to Luxbourne City. Then perhaps even given them a friendly pat on the shoulder and wished them a nice day. Not that I find anything wrong with this at all. On the contrary, this is most definitely a nice change of pace after weeks of getting bogged down by several freelance gigs and shutting myself inside my apartment whenever I can. If only the weather would be a whole lot nicer. The kind with less sun and more clouds, perhaps. With the mid-morning sun slowly beating down on us as high noon approaches, I could see why Mr. Wright skipped out on this trip. The bright side is, the whole thing seems to have put Miss Wright on a less somber mood. After the fifth store, her pace is considerably livelier, her gestures less guarded than the ones she displayed at the mansion earlier. The presence of another person might have helped as well, although Miss McCullough seems less predisposed to small talk, preferring to keep to herself most of the time and let Miss Wright lead us wherever. She did acknowledge me with a small nod when we were introduced earlier, but that didn't make standing outside the store together any less awkward while we wait for our client to finish her inquiry inside.
So, interior design, huh?
Just whatever you do, Zach, don't talk about her cat. She cast me a sidelong glance before returning to her notes again, her pen scratching faintly against the paper in quick successive strokes. There goes that. I did say I'm not good at starting or keeping conversations going, didn't I? She doesn't look back up again, and I take that as my cue to stop any attempt of striking a dialogue with her, and keep myself occupied with some other thing. Except what we have here is just Luxbourne and its busy streets. People going about their day like normal. Cars moving in and out of sight, heading to who knows where. Nothing remarkable, really. The ease with which a person can fade into the background here is reflective of the kind of city Luxbourne will always be, but the humdrum's one thing I've learned to live with. Needless to say, it doesn't usually stay that way. There are times when it would come alive, make itself known, and reassert itself back to the world. However, those moments are few and far in between. Then again, with what graces the news channels lately, I'm starting to think it's going to happen sooner. Can't say I'm looking forward to what that'll bring.
Luxury living, is it?
Her voice effectively cuts through my thoughts just as I count the 13th passerby wearing a hat today. Oh, so she could start convos but not me, huh? Is that right? Beside me, I can hear the faint rustling of paper and the clicking of her pen as she stashes them back to her bag.
Excuse me, what?
The magazine you're working for. It's Luxury Living, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You've been featured by them before, I take it?
A few years back, yes. For just some issues. My designs still appear from time to time, though not as frequent as before. Gotta have room for new talents, right?
It may not show in her face, but the pride is evident in her voice.
Good folks, the people running the publication. Tell me, is DK still on the editorial team?
I wouldn't know. I've only started taking jobs from them this year. freelancer, you know.
Good man, that guy. Anyone in our field should meet him. He had a lot of things to say about art, all of them relevant. Learned a lot from him, actually, even if we both came from two different fields. I hope he's in a good place. I haven't talked to him in a while. Anyway, your portfolio must have been good if they gave you the job. They don't easily assign big features to freelancers like this.
I wouldn't say I am, but experienced, you know? The more you practice it, the more you learn the tricks of the trade. That kind of stuff.
I know what you mean. Still, you've got to keep up with the competition. Each year, a new talent emerges and, well, you never know. Clients can be a bit fickle-minded with their choices. Believe me. Speaking of, do you think you'd be up for a new client after this?
Think so? Depends on how big the project is.
She reaches into her bag again, this time to pull out a business card, which she hands over to me. Marianne McCullough, Charlie Rose Designs.
When you're free, send your portfolio to Chris. He's my assistant.
Ooh, extra monies.
He's been looking for a decent photographer to help with updating the studio's portfolio. Nothing urgent, but the sooner the better.
Networking as a freelancer, so important. That's good for Zach.
Not sure if I'll have the time to squeeze this in. But, alright, I'll give it a go once.
Marianne, could you look this over for me?
Don't decline it, Zach. Just say yes. Do it. At that very moment, Ms. Wright emerges from the store. When I look back to Miss McCullough, the mask of professionalism has returned to her. Or at least, that is what it's trying to be. There's a different light in her eyes as she faces her, a flicker of familiarity and recognition. I'd say it's fondness, but that would be too presumptuous. Whatever it is doesn't last, and is briskly swept under the firm tone her voice assumes.
Definitely. Is there a problem?
They said they don't have the colors you suggested. Do you think we can change it around for a bit? It might take a while if we insist what we want, and you know I'd rather not worry about this later.
I think it'd be better if I handle this one myself.
Ooh, okay.
Excuse me.
She walks into the shop without another word, leaving the two of us standing outside. As soon as she's out of earshot, however, Ms. Wright lets out a giggle and swipes the business card cleanly off my hand. She smiles, bemused little thing spreading across her face, and waves the card in front of me. I wish she'll do that more often. The smiling thing. It suits her more than the other one she frequently shows to the media.
I look away, and the next thing I know, you're picking up women.
Oh my god.
On the streets, while the sun is high, no less. I'm not sure if I should be appalled or amazed. Whatever happened to the Zach I met a day ago? About as tall as you. Photographer. Quite the gentleman. To tell you the truth, I'm a bit disappointed he's gone.
It ain't like that, Miss Wright. And I'm sure Miss McCullough is not the kind of woman to let herself be picked up by strangers, let alone people she barely knows.
Oh, shush. Let me have my fun. And didn't I say you can call me Hannah? This right after you introduced yourself as my friend in front of my husband. I do believe this isn't how friends address each other. Too formal, don't you think?
I like how it knew that. Took my choice into account there. She gives the card back to me, nevertheless, and with it, her mood fades into a more pensive one. An odd look settles on her face, yearning, a bit wistful, as she looks back towards the shop's display window. There's nothing remotely interesting in it for me when I follow her line of sight, though. A few trinkets here and there, a fur rug, sofa, a wooden side table, and a lamp, all tastefully picked and arranged to resemble a typical antique living room. Oh god, I hope she's not going to see the ghost again like Isabella did. On second thought, it does look comfortable, but why they added a crib beside it baffles me. Unless, of course, the people they're hoping to market to are those who already have children, or about to have one. Then maybe it is fitting. Peculiar choice of decorations aside, it does make for a nice icebreaker, if it's not on the same level of weird and completely out of the blue. It's still leagues better than the awkward silence, which is definitely too out of a character for a personality like Mrs. Hannah's. How should I start the conversation? This one. I think that one looks cute.
Ooh, I think that one looks cute.
Looks like it increased, I guess. Hannah balks to my surprise, shuffling 2 steps away from the window and glares at it with such vehemence as if it did something remotely scandalous. Funny sigh when taken out of context. I probably will be laughing, really, if I understand what warranted such a reaction from her.
I wasn't looking at the crib.
Wasn't really talking about the crib, Hannah.
Very good then. But it wasn't the crib, all right.
Well, she's all flustered.
Alright, I get you. But that's not it. Honest. I was just saying the stuff that was on display there looks nice. Or at least as nice that it can be compared to the ones we visited earlier.
Lucky I didn't mention the crib then.
But I'm sure your interior designer has something different in mind for your mansion, so don't mind me.
I was hoping that would be enough to cut the topic short. Instead, she sighs, leans on the wall closest to her, and runs her hands through a lock of her hair. There's a far-flung look in her eyes, even as she fixes it on the concrete curb.
You need to stop looking at people like that, sweetie.
Okay, maybe I didn't do a good job on that choice.
I'm afraid I don't quite catch your drift, ma'am.
I suppose you wouldn't be aware of it. Do you know you always carry this kind of phase? Like you're always staring at the world with this honest look. Like all there is to see is all the good in it.
Frankly, I don't see anything wrong if it's like that. I mean, there always has to be something in it. You know, a sprinkle of kindness here and there. Otherwise, we'd all be miserable.
For you, maybe. Some people have to fight through it just to see that. And kindness isn't always a great thing to have around. Sometimes too much of it can hurt.
That is true, Hannah. Makes you wonder where this is coming from. How bad things have really gone for her to have this view. I do understand her sentiment. Really, I do. Still, when it's the last thing you can cling to when things have gone irreversibly bad, sometimes you simply don't get to make a choice.
Besides, the point is, it's impossible to lie when a person is looking at you like that. Or I could, but I'd feel like a horrible person afterwards. Did you hear that, Mr. Zack? You just made me feel like a horrible person. I sort of wish I had one like it. Just so people would stop lying to my face.
Or you can start by being honest with yourself. It shouldn't be quite hard. Friends don't lie to each other, don't they?
I guess so.
So what was the lie?
She draws in a breath, lays a soothing hand to her stomach, and...
That it was really the crib I was looking at earlier, silly. You're right, Uncle Zack. It's cute, but the pattern's not to my taste. I'm pretty sure Marianne could do something about that, though. At the moment, what I should really be worried about is if I'm ever going to be a good mother to this child. Ned, I can't even tell the father he's going to be one in a few months' time.
Wait, what? What?
Probably doesn't even want anything to do with this whole pregnancy thing. What am I going to do, Zack? Because right now, I'm absolutely at a loss.
She's pregnant?
Oh.
Oh. A beat.
Oh!
The realization strikes me like a ton of bricks suddenly bearing down on me. More than astonishment must have shown in my face, because Hannah lets out a chuckle. The slump on her shoulders disappears altogether underneath her mirth.
Don't look so surprised, dearie. Tied the knot 7 years ago, remember? Don't you think it's bound to happen?
Oh no, Luke, oh God. She brandishes her hand in front of me, the unassuming silver band on her finger glinting against the late morning sunlight for a second. She eyes it lovingly, almost tenderly, despite the trace of sadness in her voice. For all I know, there's an entire story there. I'd ask, but that would be too inappropriate even for friends. It's not my place to meddle to begin with.
Or at least that's what they've been saying early on. My whole social circle would be saying it's a long time coming.
But the kid is something you want, right? Because if it ain't, then that's a whole other problem.
Of course. I wouldn't deny I've been hoping to have him or her for a long time now. But then, now that we're here, all of a sudden, there are a whole lot of other things to be worried about. Business, a new home, public image, my own husband, and I don't know. I didn't really have anyone for a role model.
You know, man, if I'd known she was pregnant, I wouldn't have, forced myself away from Luke. I would have stuck with him.
I practically grew up with nursemaids pampering me every step of the way. What if it happens to this baby as well? Oh, I can already see how this will end.
Huh. I guess it's not just my sister.
What?
You and my sister. I mean, you're both having jitters or something like that. That's what it's called, right? First baby jitters? Mind you, she was really convinced she'd do everything wrong then. He even called me in the middle of the night. Has to switch places the day she found out she's carrying a new member of the family. Never mind how utterly impossible her request is.
I'm quite sure I haven't done anything of that sort yet.
Oh, you don't know that? My brother-in-law has been telling me things 5 weeks into my sister's pregnancy. Since she's one cranky pregnant lady.
That explains the sickness she had the other day, I guess, as well.
Man, good thing I found a place for myself years before that bundle of joy arrived, huh?
It can't be that awful.
Who knows? I think we'd better leave it for Mr. Right to decide, yeah?
Provided he comes around. He just sounds so repulsed every time the idea's brought up.
Then maybe you should say it to his face. No mincing of words or beating around the bushes.
And if he says no?
You haven't even told him yet.
Exactly.
Besides, that's his kid. Don't people usually say fatherhood changes men? I wouldn't call myself a living testament, of course, but there ought to be something that will hit him in that idea alone.
A wrecking ball would be nice.
Laughter escapes from me before I can stop it, and for a moment I thought I'd have done something wrong when she doesn't join in. He's still her husband, no matter what jests or complaints she hurls about him behind the media's eyes, or in the presence of people she trusts. But when she does, her chuckle, a small hesitant sound at first, I find the rest of my unease slipping away.
Well, whatever it is, my point is, you've got no idea what will happen. In the same way, you don't know if you'll be a good mom. Trust me, my sister's been there. It's perfectly normal. If, my opinion matters, though.
A long second of indecision goes by. I can feel her eyes, filled with nothing but curiosity, boring into me while she waits for the rest. It's just a simple sentiment, but one thing I think she needs to hear about for all the doubts she unwittingly places on herself. I'm just not sure if it should come from me. I'll be damned.
I think you'll be a great mother, Hannah.
If she has an answer to that, I don't get to hear it, nor does she get to say it. As soon as it's out of my mouth, the bell hanging over the antique store's door chimes and out comes Miss McCullough. For more than one reason, I've never been so relieved our talk got interrupted.
Everything's been taken care of for tomorrow, Mrs. Wright. We'll have everything you requested delivered early.
What the hell? Did she paint the things herself? How the hell did she manage to get them to arrange the furniture so quickly?
I've left them instructions, but I may have to visit again right before your housewarming party to check for a few things. I hope that's acceptable to you.
More than Marianne. This is a little early to say, but you did marvelous work with the mansion. I can't wait to see all of it come together tomorrow.
I'm only doing my job, ma'am. Needless to say, it's always a pleasure to hear a client is satisfied with my work.
Nonsense! You have every reason to be proud. I know you've already established your name here, but I'll still make sure word gets out, of course. I think I've got a few friends who might be interested in decorating their homes. I'll see if I can introduce you to them tomorrow.
I really don't want to impose, Mrs. Wright. There's still a lot to be done, and I'd rather be keeping an eye on it myself.
You know well enough I'll still do it. You too, Monsieur le Photographe. You better be the one taking the pictures for the event tomorrow, or I'll be very upset.
I blink at her, confused. Last I checked, I have nothing scheduled on my plate tomorrow. A couple of fleeting thoughts did cross my mind, like working on personal projects, but with the expectant expression on Hannah's face alone. I've wondered before how they got Isabella to sell them the mansion, with all the paperwork and the loops it has to go through. Well, now the how is already standing in front of me, and it's one giant ball of persuasion in human form. If I have any doubts about how she got around life, all of them have been dispelled right this instant. Hannah hasn't said anything yet, but I already know what my answer will be.
What event?
Our housewarming party, dearie. I've already sent invites through your publisher. They should have informed you of it by now.
Oh, great.
I may have probably missed it. I haven't gotten the chance to check my mailbox yet. Deadlines, real-life happenings, you know, they can be pretty hectic. I'll try later, but they might have already assigned it to a different photographer if they haven't received my reply yet.
That's not a problem. Nothing a little call from me can't fix. I'll have them know I'm specifically requesting for your presence. It shouldn't be too hard.
All this influence, my god.
Just promise me you'll show up. I expect to see you both there. No excuses.
Good company, good music, good food. Of course I'll be there.
Lovely. I hope we have that settled then. I'd love to stay and chat, but unfortunately I have an appointment scheduled with the doctors after this. You two will have to excuse me.
Are you feeling fine, ma'am?
It's nothing big.
Not yet. There's a short while in which her hand faintly touches her stomach when she says this. Her smile, as she does so, a tender thing in itself. She might never let it cross her mind, but motherhood would suit her. The kid is already loved even when he or she has yet to have sense of the world. Candid moments like this, I wish I'd bought a camera for.
Sorry we had to cut this short. I'd love to have lunch with you two, but, well, you two know how it goes.
It's quite fine, Mrs. Wright. I need to get going as well.
Is it somewhere far from here? I can have my driver drop you off on the way.
No, please. There's no need for that, Mrs. Wright. It's just within the city.
I see. What about you, Zach? We did leave your push bike at the mansion.
I still have to show her the photo.
Don't worry, I'll have someone bring it to your home later.
Nah, I live within the city too. A few blocks from here, in fact. I only visited earlier because...
The photos. Damn, I completely forgot about them. My hand grazes the side of my pocket where I've kept them since this morning. And sure enough, they're still there, waiting for the whole world to see them.
Because? Zach, sweetie, you're zoning out.
Miss Hannah, earlier, at the mansion?
Should I still show her the photos? Yes. Yes, I think I should. She might not appreciate it, but I think she needs to know.
I think it would be better if you take a look at these yourself.
Pretty as a picture. Oh god, yeah, it dropped down heavy. Seeing is believing, right? I reach into my pocket and pull out the photos, handing everything to her. Recognition flickers across her eyes when she reaches for them, and I have to stamp down the tiny twinge of regret in my stomach for having the gall to show it to her. Only it cuts deeper the instant both her and Miss McCullough's expression changes. And it's not a good look. To say she's repulsed will be a total understatement. All this time, Hannah's been nothing but direct, saying what she feels, expressing what she wants. Away from the glamour and the camera lenses, she's a whole different person. But as she goes through each of the pictures, I can't get an easy read on her.
Zach, dearie, what is this?
Your photos. The ones you requested copies of. I mean, they came out that way and I thought you should know.
Oh, I get it. You know, I've heard before that artists can be a bit weird. Have you ever gotten that kind of comment, Marianne?
Not in my line of work, I'm afraid. Or ever, Mrs. Wright. I'd rather keep my personal hobbies away from my actual work. Less stress that way.
Well, I suppose it just never crossed my mind that the saying applies to you as well, Zach. But talent's what's important, hmm? As long as you make good art, it doesn't matter.
It wasn't me.
Oh, no, you see, when we had that photo shoot yesterday, there was something.
I wouldn't say I don't appreciate it. I did ask for copies, darling. But would it be possible for you to give me normal-looking ones? Preferably with my head intact. I admire the effort you took to edit this, though. It looks authentic.
I did not edit this shit. Believe me, Hannah, please.
Frankly, if I show this to some other person, they'd probably believe those silly rumors about the mansion.
You have to believe me.
Good publicity, but not the kind I'd want for my new home. So please.
She drops them back in my hands like the very surface burned hers. Well, I think it's still important that she needed to see that.
If you could redo this, that would be wonderful. I'm positive you can do a better job than the one you just showed. Just try to keep the edits to a minimum,
Yeah. I can, sure.
You can take your time, of course. And speaking of time, I really must go.
Oh god. She leaves without so much as a wave. I don't have to take a guess to know I've dismayed her, or in her own words, weirded her out. Beside me, Miss McCullough shakes her head. What are the odds I've also ruined my chances with the job she had offered earlier? Very high, I'd say. It's a foolish idea in the first place. Miss McCullough departs shortly after Miss Wright has taken her leave, muttering something about getting a quick lunch before fetching Baruthiel from Chris. Oh boy. Still, at Luxbourne City, Zachary and Hannah met with Marianne McCullough. While Marianne was busy, Hannah disclosed her pregnancy and her frustrations to Zach. At the end of the talk, Zachary showed her photos, which earned the disapproval of both women. Great. It's fantastic. I don't know what to do. I don't know what or who a Baruthiel is. Must be important for her to be in this kind of a hurry. And well, she doesn't seem to be fond of small talks, something we can both agree on. Lunch sounds good for a walk around the city maybe. But with the sun as high as it is now, nah. And after how things with Miss Hannah went, I simply can't muster the appetite for anything at the moment. If I don't do anything with it now, I have this impression it will rear its ugly head again. And by then, things might be too late to fix. What other choice do I have? Ash? Rebecca? In all likelihood, all they'll give me is a pat on the back, and a Z-Man, go get some sleep. You're at it again, from Ash. I talked to Isabella, but I haven't seen her around since she showed up in my apartment 2 days ago. Weird. There is one person, though.
Damn, I should have thought of that first.
As it turns out, I do have another choice. I'm not a religious person. I won't identify myself as such. Or rather, I can't. Sure, my grandparents didn't have to force me to go weekly. I'd happily join them. In fact, most of my childhood Sundays has been spent attending service. Simply that, as you get older, the more experiences you get, forming your own beliefs on things becomes easier, for lack of a better word. And at one point it just stopped. That kind of thing. Nevertheless, I hold no disdain for it. Sometimes it does help. When things are really, really bad, when the dreams won't stay where they should be, talking does. A bit. It's also a good thing Father Norman's, well, he's not completely the pious man you'd typically expect. My unlikely friendship only probably happened because he's the kind of guy who's cool with the young ones, as he so aptly puts. And he is, surprisingly. It makes him easy to approach. Maybe he has something to say about the photos as well. Won't hurt, since I've already gone ahead and went to answer them. At daybreak, on my bike. At the very least, I know I won't get shouted at by whoever answers the door.
Unless someone does that inside a church. I highly doubt it.
Despite its age, the Luxbourne church is a thing of wonder in itself, with its high vaulted ceilings and intricate stained glass windows. One of the many gifts the Ermengarde family donated to the community in its early days. Or so I heard from Rebecca. She mentioned this once, although most of it flew over my head then. At this time of the day, the church is mostly empty, save for a few visitors and ushers shuffling about, some muttering their prayers under their breath. The scene of burning candles and incense permeate the air, giving the place a general feeling of reverence. Pretty welcoming all in all. Even so, I keep the noise my treads make to a minimum. Disturbing the quiet feels like a sin alone. An usher points me to a pew in front of the altar when asked where Father Norman prays. He mentioned something about the good priest not being in good health. Ever since he was asked by a couple to bless their new home before moving in. This is the first time in days he's left his room. No surprise there. With the weird heat lately, even Rebecca caught something. Nervous little chap, the kid. Nevertheless, he leads me close to the foot of the dais, with a reminder not to stay too long before walking off. Seconds later, Father shifts and stands. He doesn't seem to have noticed me. I have to give him a little tap on the shoulder. When he looks, though, wait, he's been to the house and he's blistered. Okay. Whew. That means he's been exposed. To say he's surprised is an understatement.
Stay away.
Holy shit. His voice comes out a whisper, almost inaudible in the hush, a quiet restraint and deference to where we're both standing. But the tremor is there. He focuses on me with wide bulging eyes, copious amount of sweat appearing on his forehead, despite the relative coolness of the place.
Father Norman?
Keep your distance.
Hey, it's me, Zach, remember?
Stay away. Don't come near me.
It must be the fever talking, or whatever he caught. It has to be. I don't recall ever doing anything for him to drive me away like this. In all the years I've known him, he's been nothing but polite, nothing but accepting of people regardless of beliefs or status in life. For words akin to a threat to come out of him, it's simply beyond imaginable.
Go back to where you came from. Leave.
Father, what did I do?
Leave now.
I extend a hand to his shoulder, meant to be reassuring, but he recoils, his ankle catching on the edge of the dais as he backs away. His shout when I attempt to reach out again echoes throughout the entire hall, catching the attention of the few people inside. I try to keep a level tone, but with these strangers' eyes trained on us, panic starts to weave its way into me.
Stay away, demon. Go back to the hell you came from.
Father, it's okay. I only came here for some pictures I thought looked odd. I figured you might know something.
From my pocket, I fish out the photos and try to hand it to him. Instead, he strikes my wrist away, almost like an accusation, and sends the photographs fluttering uselessly into the floor. Helpless, he can only watch as he coils himself into the ground, a sad, blubbering mess, whimpering to himself. He tips his head forward and begins rocking, his hands clapped over his ears.
That accursed spirit, so full of anger and pain. All those horrible things I've seen. I can't sleep. I can't eat everywhere I look. Go away. Go away. Go away. You're not supposed to be here. This is a house of God. Be gone, demon. Lord have mercy, God, our Lord, King of ages, all-powerful and almighty. You who made everything and transform everything simply by your will.
A number of people have moved closer, mostly just to gawk. Thankfully, as if to save him from being an utter spectacle, two ushers come out, taking him away. One of them, the kid from earlier, shoots me an apologetic look. I can't even return it to him. Anxiety is a powerful thing, a firm little notion that clings, eats, and consumes you. Let me check out the journal real quick. Whew. That was crazy. Just came out of nowhere. Disappointed because he wasn't able to accomplish his mission with Hannah, Zachary went to his friend, Father Norman, for advice. However, in an unexpected turn of events, the priest vehemently pushed Zach away, yelling curses and calling him a demon. I can still hear his prayers even as they drag him away.
May he keep at bay and vanquish every evil power, every poison or malice invoked against us by corrupt and envious people.